kick the field goal. It'll be Jason and Chengel out of the hold of Mesco. Good snap, good hold, and the kick is blocked. Appalachian State has stunned the college football world. One of the greatest upsets in sports history.
Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Well, good morning, and welcome to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I am Thom Brennaman. You can find us every single day, Monday through Friday, 10 in the morning till noon Eastern Time. You can go to YouTube, search up Chatterbox Sports. Please subscribe to the show. It's free. We thank you for that. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Thom Brennaman TV. Please share anything that you might like, maybe things you don't like. We'll answer your questions if you have us. We'll keep an eye out on the chat there on YouTube. And this is a startup, so we could use your help in any form or fashion. Big show today. Coming up in a minute, we'll be joined by our good friend Tracy Jones. The NFL season, as you know, begins tonight. Buffalo with the LA Rams is at a preview of the Super Bowl. Former Pro Bowler Reuben Brown will give us a preview of the Buffalo Bills. Dan Hoard checks in, voice of both the Bearcats and the Bengals. And our main man, Zim Who, is set to tell us everything that is your Cincinnati Bengals. Let's get right to it, though, with Tracy Jones. Tracy, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Tom. Good morning. You know, I've already caught a situation after the first show. Not good. After our first show, my wife was watching the podcast. And so I was pretty excited. I thought the show went really well.
Thought it went great.
And she came. Yeah, I thought so too. And I said, well, what did you think of the show? And she says, can I make one suggestion? I said, what is that? She says, can you be more like Thom? I says, what the hell does that mean? He says, do you see the way Thom looks? He's tan. He's wearing nice colors. And she said, I says, okay, well, I can make those adjustments. And then she drops can you please take that stupid hat off? You're not 13 years old.
I like the hat. I was going to tell you that the other day. I really like the hat. You got one by you right now? Throw it on.
Well, it's casual, but I like my hair right now. I call that the brush nickel look. It's not really gray, is it?
No.
It's tight. Yeah. So I sure hope this show doesn't cause me to get a divorce.
I hope not either. I don't want to have any hand in that. I mean, I'm having a hard enough time keeping my act together with my bride. I don't think she likes me very much, close to 22 years. You know how it goes.
Well, and plus you've taken a pay cut. Let's be honest. I mean, women are out.
You have no idea. You have no idea. Every time you turn around, you keep printing money. All right, look, I want to get to something in baseball here for a second because, look, everything right now is football. But you and I were texting back and forth last night. 2 nights ago, the Reds playing a game where their pitchers walk 11 batters in 7 innings, okay? Because the Cubs didn't bat in the bottom of the 9th, and they had one pitcher, Hunter Strickland, who did not walk a batter in his only inning. So they walk 11 guys. You're getting a lot of young guys that come up, and you've been a part of teams, right, where you're a veteran guy, you're still playing out the string, you're giving it everything you have, and then the next thing you know, a bunch of guys are brought up from the minor leagues. You might know some, you probably don't know most. Maybe you met them in spring training. The planes are smaller because they're taking up space. The clubhouse is smaller, and then they're getting playing time. Did that ever bother you?
You know what's funny is you bring that up as far as not knowing the players. I was watching one of the games. I don't know if you're referring to this game, but I was at the Cheesecake Factory. And I'm sitting there watching this game, the Cubs against the Reds. And I got to tell you, Tom, I mean, this is Chicago Cubs. I knew none of the players. And then I'm watching the first inning. The second baseman throws one to the shortstop, and it gets past him. The right fielder misplays a ball. And the pitcher is getting squeezed by the umpire. But your point there's so many players now in the big leagues that shouldn't be in the big leagues.
Yeah.
And I think the players are better now, the star players, but there's some players that should be playing AAA and they're in the big leagues. And for me, we're a very special group. I think only 19,000 of us have ever played in the big leagues. And for some of these JOs to come up there and get a chance to play in the big leagues, I think is an outrage.
See, I love that word. Is that 2 words or 1 word? I use it all the time. You referenced it as JOs, but we'll keep that for the
junior
time
officer.
being. That's exactly right.
Junior officer.
Junior officer. It is.
Yes.
But you said something that made me think of something. Umpiring. Okay.
Yes.
Now, there's been a lot of debate, and you and I started to talk about rules in baseball and a pitch clock and enforcing rules that are already there that you pointed out. You did a lot of research to get ready for the show the other day. I was very impressed. But umpires, there's some talk about the possibility of, like they do in tennis, for example, of using radar and that kind of thing. Would you be in favor of that?
Absolutely. I think the umpires, for me, are a distraction. I think they're extremely overrated. They're overpaid. I mean, Joe West was paid $450,000 to miss calls. I mean, I think he was so overrated. He thought the game revolved around him. Never liked Joe West. I would like to have an automatic, kind of a robo balls and strikes. I think it would be a good idea. I know they tested it in AAA, mixed results. But, Tommy, go back to that game a couple nights ago, Cubs and Reds. I swear to God, that umpire missed 4 pitches in the first 2 innings.
Now, Tracy, their numbers are pretty good, man. I mean, when you go back and you look at the whole thing where they're able to break down whether they got them right or wrong, they're right up there in the high 90% range.
So you like having an umpire behind home plate?
I do. I think just like players, they can make mistakes. Okay, now you might say, well, that could determine who wins and loses. Players' mistakes determine who wins and loses, right?
Tom, I think we're going to agree to disagree on this. This is just something that
I've want just some machine calling it a ball or a strike?
Yes, I do. Well, let me just tell you. Now, you might think that you have it right, but according to the commissioner, they're going to implement this in 2024. Have you read that?
Yes, but I don't like it.
You don't like it. Well, You're going to have to get.
Did you ever have any problems with any umpires? I mean, you sound a little bitter towards them, to be honest with you. Did you ever have any issues with anybody in particular?
Well, yes, I did. And I was thrown out, I think, 5 times, maybe 6 times, 4 for fighting, and 2 for calls that I argued with an umpire. I had an issue with Eric Gregg.
Loved Eric Gregg. Love that guy.
Horrible umpire. Good guy, though. I like Eric a lot. He's passed away. But I was in New York. I was 1 step by the bag, safe by a mile, and Eric called me out. And I said, Eric, you missed that call. And he threw me out.
Really?
Now, wait a minute. That's not true. That's not true. What I really said was, Eric, you missed that call, you fat ass. And if it was a cheeseburger, you wouldn't have missed it. That's what I really said. And he threw me out.
You did not say that to him.
I swear to God I did. I swear to God. And he used to be on my extra innings show occasionally. And he's a really nice guy. I really liked Eric Gregg. But he threw me out in Cincinnati and threw me out in New York. So that's the only umpire that threw me out for arguing calls. The other were, altercations.
Speaking of altercations, did you fight somebody twice by chance, or was it just 4 different guys or 4 different teams, or what?
No, it's just 4 different situations. Was never my fault. Pitchers were intensely throwing at me. Although one time I did charge the mound after a guy hit me with a curveball. And Buddy Bell after the game, he goes, "What the hell was that?" He said, "He hit you with a curveball." I says, "I know, but last time we were here, he hit me with a fastball." So I was wound a little too tight, Tom.
Well, yeah, I could see how there would be times where you're wound a little too tight. I can see that.
Tom, let me say one other thing. Do you remember that fight? I had the longest fight in baseball history, and this is a true story, the 22-minute fight with Seattle against the Brewers. A lot of bad blood. and Bob Sebra,
Yep.
he hit me on purpose, and that fight lasted 22 minutes. That's when Tom Troublehorn got flipped by Jeff Schaefer. Did you ever see that?
Yes, I remember it well. The
Yes.
manager of the Brewers, Tom Troublehorn.
And what was crazy about that fight is we were a bunch of scrawny guys, little scrappy guys. We had Omar Vizquel and Harold Reynolds and Greg Briley, guys like that. And they had like Greg Vaughn and Dave Parker and all these big guys. And that fight just went on and on and on. It was a little scary, I got to tell you. 22 minutes. Fights that last 22 minutes, there's a lot going on.
Did you ever hit anybody, like make connection, or did they ever punch you? Did you ever get hit?
You know, there's something that happened in that fight was that Don Baylor. You remember the great Don Baylor?
Oh, man. And that's a big, strong dude, brother.
He's a tough guy.
Yeah.
We had got an altercation when I was playing with the Tigers, like a month earlier. Remember, Tom, I was traded like every couple of months to different teams. So I got into it, and I actually had Don Baylor pinned down on the ground. I didn't hit him or anything, but he remembered that. So when that fight broke out in Seattle, he came from behind me and started yanking my neck. Tom, my neck's never been the same. In fact, I go to get a massage probably once every week and get it worked on. It's still as bad. It's been the vertigo. So you laugh. You think that's funny?
I don't think it's funny. I think a lot of us, when we hear you talk, we say, you know, you're drinking Grey Goose sitting up there in your palatial condo overlooking the, what did you call them? Ham and Eggers? What'd you call them?
The Ham and Eggers, fireworks, yes. Drinking their old Milwaukee. Or Little Kings, I should say, be Cincinnati.
Right. Well, that's true. But, and then you're talking about getting massages and, and all this kind of thing. The last thing
get a massage. I actually get a massage from a guy. That's how I need the deep tissue. I mean, there's nothing wrong with
Does that have anything to
massage.
do with the Deshaun Watson story?
Oh, how dare you. I'm not like that at all, Tom.
Well, I think all of us have to be careful out there.
I think especially, what Deshaun Watson is asking, from the masseuse. It's a little shaky, isn't it?
I think it's a little shaky. Yeah,
That's a crazy story.
It's a crazy story. Before I let you get out of here, because, look, I have played second fiddle to my dad for my entire life. And you know what? I have always been totally cool with that. In fact, one of the things that I enjoyed the most, and there are a lot of people saying, well, you should be playing second fiddle, and they're right. But one of the things I enjoyed the most, and I used to rib him all the time when I was announcing the Reds games, and he was still doing the games, was whenever sponsors or the team or whatever it might be, when they needed a go-to guy to be the MC, whether it was a Reds Hall of Fame or whether it was some golf event or charity event, whatever it might be, the beauty of being in the town with my dad was he was a guy they always went to, right?
Right.
So I only bring this up because today you sent me a text and you said, hey, I got to be on at 10:05. I got to go meet your dad to record today.
Yeah, we're taping our show, Jones and Brennaman on baseball on 700 WLW, and we're taping like 8 shows, and I have to be there at 11 o'clock. And you know how your dad is, Tom.
Oh,
you can't
boy.
be late one
Do
minute.
I ever.
He actually finds me $1 a minute if I'm late.
Well,
can you believe that?
Tracy, I told you the other day, all of this stuff that you guys, okay, what, you said 23 years you two have been working together?
23 years.
Okay, well, let's double that, okay? Let's double that plus 12. That's what I've been listening to for that long.
I know. It's tough. You Brennamans are really something.
Well, don't throw me in that basket. All I know is we had him on again yesterday, and that internet is so tired. We can't even put clips. I'm not a social media guy, but Brandon Seho and Casey McCollister are our producers. They're all the time putting stuff out on Twitter and clips from the show. I can't use any of his clips from the show.
Yeah, it's just terrible. I mean, doesn't he do like a sound check or something? Are we good to go? Ask your producer. If you're
They
all right.
do it, but it's that dial-up service he has in his house. I don't even think it's dial-up.
No, he has AOL. He thinks that's cutting edge. But see how I've changed the set here? It's brighter. My wife says, get a brighter shirt, look like Thom. I think I did better. And she goes, why can't you be smart like Thom? She says, you sound stupid.
Well,
not you, me.
If she talked to my wife, she would get a completely different story because she loves Tracy Jones and loves me, likes me. I'm not quite sure. Listen, big weekend. Are you now? Before we let you go, because I know you got to run. Do you watch college football, and will you be watching the Bengals game, or were you invited up to a suite probably to go to the Bengals game this Sunday?
You know what? I don't like crowds, so I don't go to football games. I do watch the NFL. I do not watch college football. It doesn't interest me. Although I was a great high school quarterback. I mean,
I was getting ready to bring that up. In Southern California, there have been a lot of great high school quarterbacks.
Yes.
And I'm told by multiple sources you were one of the top 5 guys, maybe of all time.
Well, I was ranked third. I really don't like to talk about myself, Thom. This makes me feel very uncomfortable. But in 1979, since you asked, I was ranked the 3rd best quarterback in Southern California. And maybe you've heard of a couple of these guys. Number 2 was Jay Schrader. Do you remember
Won a
that
Super
name?
Bowl. Won a Super Bowl with the Washington Redskins.
Played at Pacific Palisades and went to UCLA. And then the number 1 quarterback, I thought I could have been better, was a guy by the name of John Elway, who went to Granada Hills and then Stanford. So that's where I rank, just so it gives me credibility when I come on the show and talk football. But I don't like to talk about myself. You know, I was a good basketball player, too.
You were?
Hell yeah. One more quick story, because I don't like to brag about myself. But in 1979, the top 5 athletes in Southern California.
1979, they were using cave drawings back then. They didn't even have newspapers, I don't think. So who the hell was ranking these guys?
Elway, Stanley Wilson, remember him?
Oh, very well. We talked about him with Anthony Munoz yesterday.
Byron Scott.
Oh, boy.
Myself, and I forget the 5th one, but it's not important. I just got myself in that 4. Those are pretty, think about the careers those 4 guys had.
Yeah. I mean, those are big-time guys now. So Elway was a good basketball player, too?
Who was?
Did you say Elway was a great basketball player?
He was all right. He played basketball, but yeah, he was a better baseball player. He was a center fielder.
Right. That's right. But he wasn't better
Drafted
than you
by
were.
the Yankees.
You were ranked ahead of him, for sure, in baseball.
Oh, shake yourself. For sure. Sure.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. I know you got to get up and meet my dad, and you don't want to be late for any of that kind of thing.
You Brennamans.
Hey,
more
listen.
Like Thom.
Let your bride know if she's watching today, and it's highly unlikely. I don't know if anybody's watching. But let your bride know I like the hat. I like the T-shirt. Yeah. I like the look. What did you call that? Brushed nickel?
Brushed nickel. Man, that stuff is white. I had a lady stop me in my building and say, I wish my hair was that color.
A woman told you that?
Yeah, she's about 98.
God almighty. All right, boy. Tracy, good luck the rest of the day. We'll catch up with you next Tuesday. You're the man.
All right. I'll tell your dad you said hi.
Please do. He was out there yesterday at the LPGA event where he introduced all of the, the Pro-Am thing, and he was the guy who introduced everybody and says he wants to be like the guy that does it for the British Open every year. I guess they travel that guy no matter where they play the British Open. Or they call it the Open, I guess now. And he wants to be that guy.
Great honor.
In his next life.
And your kid is going to be caddying.
He is caddying.
Right?
He is caddying.
That's a big deal.
It's a really big deal. That was his summer job all summer. And he made a lot of money, worked his tail off. And I'm really excited. They only needed a couple of other kids. Some bring their caddies. A lot of them don't, who are struggling, trying to make money. So they'll just pick somebody up locally. And so he's out there right now as we speak.
But I think it's really bad. He should be in school. And I think for a dad to take him out of school for this golf I think it's reckless on your part.
I know you don't mean that.
Oh, hell no, I don't mean that.
No, I know you don't. Okay. All right.
School's overrated.
Well, I don't know about that part, but he's done great for the last 3.5 years. He's like a 4.4 student. And when his mom and I sat down, Polly and I sat down to talk about this whole thing, in the back, you know how it goes. You approach it in a certain way, right? But in the back of your mind, you're saying, there is no way in God's earth he's missing his chance, right? Right?
No.
To go
He's
to
gotta
science
do it.
class. I mean, come on.
Who needs sports is more important than going to school and learning, who chopped down the cherry tree. Who in the hell cares? Who gives a rat's ass? Go out and have some fun. What grade's he in?
He's a senior in high school. So he's good.
Oh, God, yeah.
He's good. Yeah.
He should be out chasing girls, drinking beers.
Well, you know what? I think there's a good chance that's happening already. So, Trace,
let's hope so.
Let's catch you on Tuesday. I'll see you, man.
Right, I'll see you, Tommy.
Be good. Tracy Jones. Is there anybody like that, dude? I mean, that guy is just absolutely awesome to have on our show every week. We're lucky to have him, and I hope you enjoy it too. All right. We're going to take a break, and then what we're going to do is we're going to tee up some of the headlines around. We're going to tell you about our show and about some of the things we're going to talk about here today. We've got Zim Who Day coming up here in just a few minutes, so stick around.
The time is now. Football season is back here in the Queen City, and Week 1, St. X versus Dakota West. DJ Train here with Chatterbox. It's about to go down. It's our kickoff of our official tour. Every Friday night you'll see us. Let's go. It's on 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's go. Man, I'm telling you, this game is going to come down to the first guy that says I've had enough. That's all it's going to take. One guy to say, you know what, I've had enough. My first one. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better first one because Dakota West struggling a lot throughout the first half and beginning of second half, and then
big time.
It's a party. It's a party. It's a party.
I know one thing. Ain't nobody does this better than us. Facts.
Yeah, this atmosphere was insane. Show was on point. Everybody had a great time for the first one too, bringing people together. Big shout out to everybody tonight that worked hard from Chatterbox and everywhere else to put on a great show.
This dude's legit.
And he's sweating, so you know he's legit.
All right, welcome back to Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. Let's get right to it, right? We go to football for virtually the rest of this show. Tonight in L.A., the defending Super Bowl champion Rams are hosting the Buffalo Bills. And in many circles, the Bills are the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl this year. Been a lot of talk about quarterback Matthew Stafford's throwing right elbow. And it turns out he had a procedure done on that elbow during the offseason. Nobody knew about it until the last couple of days. He said he was hurt all of last year and yet good enough to win that Super Bowl. Says he's ready to go full speed tonight. So does Sean McVay. Said he's got to throw it 50 times to win. We're throwing it 50 times to win. Bengals and Steelers tee it up right here in the Natty on Sunday. Cincinnati's offense has 4 new starters, all on the offensive line. The only returning starter from last year, left tackle Jonah Williams. The Steelers go with Mitchell Trubisky at quarterback over Kenny Pickett. Mike Tomlin begins his 16th season as the Steelers head coach, which makes him the second longest tenured head coach after Bill Belichick's 23 years. It's interesting to note, I mean, you talk about stability, the coach for 16 years. This is Tomlin's first season that he does not have Ben Roethlisberger as his quarterback. He inherited Big Ben. Bengals 6.5-point favorite. I'll take that all day, every day. College front, UC Bearcats have their home opener tomorrow against Kennesaw State. The Owls won the Big South Conference title last year, went 11-2, went to the playoffs in something called the AFCA for the 4th consecutive year. They've already lost to Samford their first game of the year. Ohio State plays at noon against Arkansas State in Columbus. The Ohio University is at Penn State for the Nittany Lions home opener tomorrow. Miami will host Robert Morris, and among the biggest and best games over the weekend, this has got a chance to be a great game. Number 20 Kentucky takes on number 12 Florida. You also have number 1 Alabama going to Austin, Texas to take on the Longhorns. And lastly, locally, the LPGA Kroger Queen City Classic is underway at Kenwood Country Club. The weather couldn't be better. Rough is extremely deep. The greens are very slow with all the rain. Talked about our son caddying for a young lady, Jillian Hollis, a University of Georgia grad who hails from Rocky River. That's just outside of Cleveland. So we are rooting for Miss Hollis because the Brennaman household could use a little cash. And if she wins, he gets the big bucks, and my wife and I take those big bucks. Trace Fowler, our founder and CEO, has just informed me that we've received...
It's nice to see that somebody's appreciator out here. You got a nice gift from First Star.
Really? First Star Logistics?
That's right.
Wow. That's big time.
I haven't looked at it.
I mean, this is heavy, I can tell you that.
Let everybody see what it is.
All right, let's see what we got here. We got our first present on the show. Hopefully it's the first of thousands more to come. You got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. A MacBook. You know what? I'm not even going to talk to him. I just went out and paid for one before this show started.
That'd be good for your son when he's homeschooling after this.
Yeah, you might be. Boy, that is really, really nice of them. Wow. First Star Logistics, I mean, that is really, really nice. They came out the other day to check out everything we're doing here at Chatterbox, from the high school stuff to our Bearcat Bash to the Bengals Tailgate Bash we're going to be cranking up. We met with some great folks yesterday as well from Jake Sweeney. Tell you, this place Chatterbox, we got some momentum now. We got some stuff going on. And I tell you, one of the biggest things we have going on in First Star Logistics, thank you. Thank you. I'm hoping that this is a relationship that starts and goes on for a long, long time. I tell you, another guy who we got it going on here is with my main man who joins us along the eastern seaboard, Zim Who. Zim, what is happening? This is Steeler Week. I was reading some of your tweets earlier today, seeing that I am just on social media and just learning that whole thing. You have like tens of thousands of followers on Twitter and Instagram and all these other things. What does Steeler Week mean to Zim Who?
First of all, Tom, how are you doing? I missed you, guy.
I missed you, my man. I sent you a text today on whatever they call these things, a message on Twitter, just to say hello and thank you for coming on, and of course you never wrote me back. I mean, you're a lot like my daughter who's off at college, never writes me back.
You gotta just text me directly. Those DMs and messages and stuff get flooded. I can't even keep track of that stuff. But yeah, I missed you. I felt like we had a great start. I'm really excited for Steelers week. I started running clips, going into my archives because I'm the king of receipts. And I just started running back some clips and just playing some of the stuff in my memory bank. And I'm really, really excited. I almost was going to wear glasses when I came on here, but I said, no, we're taking the glasses off. We're going full savage mode. We're going crazy. I'm with Thom, and it's time to lock it in. And my goal is throughout the season that I unlock your inner roar as well, too. And we're going to get you fired up.
I'm all for that. I'm all for, at my age, you really need a lot of inner roar. There are a lot of people my age that take pills to find that inner roar. You know what I'm saying, Zim Who?
I'm sure
is that out of line?
You know.
All right. Hey, no. Now, come on now. You got to bring it. You're talking about me bringing it, my inner roar and all this kind of stuff. I mean, Steelers week for you is a big deal, man. I was looking at your stuff today. You got Joe Mixon stats on there. You got quotes from Joe Burrow. I mean, this is a big week, right? Not just because it's the opener. It's the Steelers, and you don't like the Steelers.
I hate the Steelers. Every fiber in my body, thinks about, how can I go close a deal because I think this jerk off over here is a Steeler, and all of these different things in my mind that I think are really there, I just equate to Steelers. So here we are, and I'm excited. The thing about those mixing stats and stuff is I love stuff like that because
give us those stats, Zim. Give us those stats because they're really good stats to know, and you pointed out that today on Twitter.
Well, I'll just tell you just really quick. Over the last 2 games, Joe Mixon averaged over 5 yards a carry, gave them 165 yards, ran the ball right down their throats, and they were unable to stop it. The Steelers were the last in the National Football League in rushing yards this past season. People are now waking up today telling me that the Steelers curtain is coming out. I don't see Mean Joe Green. I don't see any of those dudes running out that tunnel. Troy Polamalu isn't there. So I'm still running for 5-point whatever. And I'm still going to truck my way through success. I know a lot of this, the attention goes to the Migos, but I think this is a Joe Mixon game. We set the tone early. You talked about the 4 new offensive linemen. I think that those offensive linemen will be able to push. I think Joe Mixon will fall on 3 yards, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, and we can kind of like bury some of that stuff early on.
What do you think? I don't know, because, Zim, you and I are just getting to know each other a little bit. Are you I'm not asking if you're a gambler. I'm asking, though, do you pay attention to point spreads and over-unders and all that kind of stuff? And if so, are you surprised that the Bengals, the point spread is 6.5, one way or the other?
I'm not surprised. I mean, automatically they're going to get the 3 for the home. And I do pay attention to betting lines. I do bet. I bet a lot of player prop stuff. I mean, the writing's on the wall. Last 3 games, Bengals have outscored them, 92-30 something. Somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, like, the odds are definitely in our favor. Somebody asked me, is this a trap game? And I'm like, you can't be a Bengals fan or a Bengals player and think that you're going to get trapped into, a Steelers game knowing the history of the Steelers and what we've been up against. So, I just don't think there's anything that could catch you off guard in that regard, I guess.
All right, if there's one thing, and I mean, I give you all the credit in the world because you've forgotten more about the Bengals than I will ever know. I mean, you follow this stuff hardcore, and you know your stuff, you know the numbers, you know the history, you know. Is there anything that concerns you about this game?
It's always the things that you can't control. People ask me about the weather and stuff. I think that could work in their favor because if you have a less talented team, then maybe they can capitalize on mistakes or turnovers. There's always been a history, when you think about 2005, Bengals going with the number 1 quarterback leading the league in touchdowns, and then he gets his leg torn up on the first series in a game when you're going to dominate the team that you dominated the whole entire season. So there's always this unknown that you just don't know about, or Ben Roethlisberger running out of a tunnel when you thought he was done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So like there's going to be calls that probably won't go your way, but I'm a big proponent of do not allow the refs. You were just talking about the Rams. Do not give the refs the opportunity to go win a game because unlike college football, these games are really close generally. A 10-point game in the NFL is a blowout to me. Like, maybe not a blowout, but you won convincingly.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? So, so I just think that as long as they just play mistake-free football, then they'll be fine. I do see a world that we live in where maybe Mitch Trubisky gets into the rhythm of a game. He gets into some rollouts, and then the script is there for him. But I think if the Bengals are learning from what they did last year with the Jets with Mike White, you don't play around. You bring the heat, NASCAR package, give them aggression early on, get them flustered, get them outside of the structure of the playbook. That's what makes Joe Burrow so special. You couldn't do that to him. The non-special quarterbacks, you can. Yep. And you got to do it early and get them thinking. And I think if they do that, they'll be fine.
NASCAR package. Did you get that somewhere, or is that yours?
No. That's just, when you want to bring the dogs, you want to bring the Jeff.
I like that though. I think you ought to patent. I think you ought to patent.
You never heard that before?
No,
that's that. Come on, NASCAR Tom. That's football talk right there.
Well,
yeah, when you bring in the guys,
smart guys, man. I mean, in football, the years I did the NFL, I mean, Aikman and Billick and all these guys. You like Brian Billick, by the way? I mean, you're right outside of Baltimore. He's on the show with us every single week. They still love him there, right?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I've never met him personally. I would love to meet him. He seems like a really, really cool dude.
He is a cool dude. Are you going to the game Sunday, or are you going to be watching at home?
You darn right. My boy Seho, we're going to be at the tailgate. I would encourage you, if you had some time, just sneak out. You could put on one of those fake mustaches or something like that. Just sneak in, put a hoodie on. We can be jamming over there, Tom. We can have some fun before this tailgate, before you get into the professional world. We can hang out and let that lion, that tiger roar really early, and then we can head over to the game.
Zim, look, I mean, you may know this or may not know this. I've been unemployed for 2 years. So I don't worry anymore about going somewhere and getting recognized or anything like that. And I have always been, if nothing else, a man of the people. I'm out there amongst them, having a cold beer, a whole 9 yards. I'm all for it. So I may come down there this week. Are you going to be coming in for that every week with Brandon? Brandon, jump on here real quick. Are you hosting
He's in the building.
He's in the building. There he is right there next to Casey McCollister.
What's
Say
up?
hello to Zim Who Day.
What's up?
Hey.
Guys?
Yeah, so we're hosting the
How's it going, fellas?
we're good. We're hosting the Bengal Block Party with Chatterbox Sports, Cincinnati Entertainment Group. Going to have the big Jumbotron that we take out every Friday night to the high school football games, DJ, sound system, drinking games. Tom, I want to come play some Flip Cup.
I'm more of a beer pong guy.
Well, we have that too.
I like Flip Cup. That's okay.
I heard you admitted yourself you're a beer guy. So
I am. I'm a beer guy.
what's the beer of choice? I'm a Coors Light guy.
I love Coors Light.
Well, we can
Love
share
it.
a case of Coors Light before the Bengals Steelers and rock on.
You know what beer I like the best is anyone that wants to think about sponsoring this show.
True. Very good. I'll drink anything.
Zim,
That's cold.
when you sit here and look this show is only what we had Thursday and Friday, off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So it's our fifth show. Okay, we started a week ago today, and I told and asked Casey and Brandon if they could do something to dress up this backdrop because it looks so tired. I mean, it is boring. There's nothing to it. And we have them on the air every week to talk about picks, to talk about tomorrow we're going to get into our, division champs, wild card winners, do our picks for college and pro. And every time we take this shot, that's what you see.
Look, I went and bought frames today. I brought my Steve Logan Jordan Brand jersey, Johnny Bench Stitch jersey.
Nice.
He's going to go right behind us. I got, just give us a little time.
I'm going to get my AJ Green jersey, and we're going to place it right here.
You see, I got my AJ on. This is my lucky shirt. I've only had one defeat in this shirt. I've only lost one game with this shirt.
Which one was that? What game was that?
I don't want to revisit that, Tom. Don't make me do that.
Please don't tell me that was a playoff game against the Steelers.
No,
Say
I
they want to
wasn't
revisit
there. That game. I was at Miami rooftop. It was my wife's birthday, January 9th. I fell on the ground and I laid motionless for like 20 minutes. Like it was one of the worst nights of my life. But that wasn't the night I wore it. I wore this at a game and that we lost. But I'm like 5-1 in this shirt.
Okay. Are you so you're gonna be at the game? You're gonna be at the tailgate, the whole 9 yards. I got to be honest with you, Zim. I mean, you look like you got a nice crib there back behind you, but I mean, there's nothing on the wall there. I don't see any inner roar there. I don't see any of that.
Well, this is the thing. I think, and people asked me this before. Now, I have a room for that, but the sound I don't think is good. I like to be in the comfort of like the kitchen for some weird reason. Yeah. But I'm one of those people. I'm a super purist. So, I'm not bad. I'm not really low on the backdrop that you outlined from those guys right there, because I feel like if they're showing what they got, then they will 100% outweigh the background. I almost think of me as art, and I am the piece. I am when you see me right now, I am the Bengals logo and all of these different things right there. You don't need anything behind me. Here it is, right in your face. You know what you should do, though?
What?
Maybe we should get a Thom Brennaman fathead on the background of the wall over there and just blow your face up really big behind Say Ho and them.
Nope.
Let's
do it. You know one guy I want to ask you about, because you've gotten to know a lot of these guys. And I thought you said when you were on last week that you've gotten to know a little bit, or maybe a lot, Tyler Boyd.
Right.
Yeah, I want to ask you about him for a minute. And I'm being very serious for a second here. Rare, but true. The way this offense is looked at by the outside world, and even people who are big Bengals fans, the first two guys you think of are naturally Burrow and Chase, rightfully so. Right. Get it. T. Higgins is then next in line, right? And then I think next in line oftentimes is Mixon, okay? And then people talk about what the offensive line wasn't and what it is now after all the changes. You rarely hear people talk about Tyler Boyd. What kind of dude is he?
Man, to me, he's something that if you're a Bengals fan and you want to gravitate to somebody that's just done it the right way, never complain, constant professional, he's like the kids say, like he got the drip. He's well dressed. He looks good when you see him. You know what I mean? So like all of these things all in one are, to me, what it takes to be like a Bengals fan. You had to go through some stuff to get back up. That's why when we talk trash online to these Steelers fans, they're front runners. The minute they got a little bit of adversity, they're ready to shy away from the truth. They really quit last year in the 24-10 game, and Tyler Boyd came to the podium and let everybody know that, hey, they threw the white flag in, and I was expecting a lot more from them. Because if you're a Bengals fan, you're really looking for everybody's best shot. I want you at full health, because after I win that game, I'm going to tell you 100% that we kicked you and stomped a mud hole into you, and I'm going to tell you a factual statement when I say it. And I think Tyler Boyd lives by those same principles. And you got to think he's a Pittsburgh guy.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Pittsburgh kid. I mean, I'm sure he gets – I was going to ask you, does he get a little bit more fired up for this game?
I don't – see, I'm not one of those guys. I don't really talk too much about, like, football before the game. Like, I'm the guy, like, afterwards. Like, we're celebrating whatever. I don't want, like, them to think, like, trying to tell them, like, hey, I'll say some inspirational, motivational stuff like, hey, man, like, don't worry about this, da-da-da-da. I'll do those kind of talks. But we generally talk about, like, regular stuff, like where we're headed. Like tailgate stuff like that.
I have to tell you, Zim Who Day, I mean, my son knew you before I knew you a couple of years beforehand, and you're hanging out and doing all these things with these different people. I have never received an invitation for any of those gatherings you have, and that's okay.
Well, I just did that live on air.
All right. That's all right.
Hold on, live on air. We just our open invitation. I didn't even know Seho's. This is how you know I'm a true friend. Your true friends will talk directly to you and say, whatever, anything, right?
Yes.
But the good ones, the really good ones, will talk about you in good standing behind your back. I didn't even know Seho was in the building. I said, hey, look, you need to hang out with us. And I didn't even know he was there. But that was the open invitation, and check us out. Now on Sunday, we're going to rage together, and we're going to start it up right now. Now that MacBook Pro, that's a different conversation that we can have.
Well, tell me about it. What are your thoughts about it? I mean, they just walked in. They surprised me from First Star Logistics. They're not even a sponsor of the show yet.
Whoa.
But they bring this in here. I mean, I'm overwhelmed. I mean, I announce the Reds games for however many years. I never received anything like this. This is really, really nice.
I feel like you had too many, and I feel like you got a good friend you're talking to right now.
Yeah, you see this computer right here, Zim? Okay. My good friends at Encore Technologies, among the many, many, many thousands of clients they have, one of their clients is Cincinnati Children's Hospital, okay? One of the most famous children's hospitals in the world. And They replace their computers, it's my understanding, at Cincinnati Children's Hospital like every 2 years, right? So this is a used computer that I just bought like 2 weeks ago. I'm not a big – I use them. I'll surf the internet a little bit. All right, but back to football for a second. Prediction for the game. What are you thinking?
I want them to come out of the game, win, lose, or draw healthy. I'm not a real big
my
score
God,
guy.
Zim. We don't have you on this show for stuff like that. I mean, that's not why you're here.
I'm not a big score guy. I'm a little superstitious with the scores, but I do think that the Bengals do win by 2 scores, though. I don't have a score prediction. Is that good?
Okay.
Is that good?
No, that's good. That's good. So you think the Bengals would cover the spread? 2 scores could be a touchdown and a field goal, touchdown and a safety, whatever it might be. You think they cover in the game and on they go. Any predictions? Are you going to be watching the game tonight, right? Buffalo against the Rams?
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know if this is wrong or not, but I just want to see the Rams. Maybe you tell me how you feel. I want to see the Rams stomp a mud hole in the Bills. Because all season, all I've heard is that the Bills are the favorites to win it all. I get their division, but like they talk about them as though they're conference champs. Wouldn't that be something for the Rams to just pile drive them tonight? That's just my overall look.
Well, you remember big old Reuben Brown, right? He's a 9-time Pro Bowl offensive lineman with the Buffalo Bills, a guard, great player, college football Hall of Famer, probably should be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. He does a lot of work in Buffalo on television and radio now, so he's going to be on the show today at 11:35 Eastern Time. So I'm sure we'll hear a whole boatload about how great the Bills are. You're right. It's everybody talking about the Buffalo Bills and how great they're going to be. They had that heartbreaking loss last year in the conference semis when their defense couldn't stop Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I'm with you. I'm not, and I'm going to tell Reuben this when he's on. I'm not buying them. I'm not
either. Tom, have you ever looked at their schedule? Did you see who they played this past season?
Yeah, and not only that, Zim, I read the other day in 1-score games, and again, I'm going to ask Reuben Brown about this. In 1-score games last year, they were 0-6.
The Bengals, I'm told every day of my life, caught people by surprise. It was luck. The Bengals were undefeated against AFC playoff opponents going into the playoffs. They didn't catch anybody off guard. What the Bills failed to do with Patrick Mahomes, the Bengals did that twice. The previous year before then, they failed to do the same thing against the Chiefs again. The Bengals did that twice, with their defense doing it in convincing fashion in the second half of those football games. Jamar Chase probably having the best performance of the whole entire season. But yet I wake up to Bills beating the Jags and Falcons and all these teams, and they have won 4 games in the playoffs in the last 25 years, but somehow they're the favorites. I don't get it. Somebody's got to explain it to me.
Well, dial us in. I know you're busy today, but when Reuben Brown comes on, he'll be on 11:35. Maybe he'll convince you and me otherwise. I don't know. Zim, I will look forward to seeing you this Sunday. Safe travels. Godspeed coming back into the Natty. And can't wait to see you and Brandon Seho and the whole gang from Chatterbox out there. Pre-game, that's down by Longworth Hall, right?
Yeah, wait, are you coming down now? You just committed?
Well, I got to talk to my son first. It all depends.
I'll bring the Coors Light, Tom.
My son, Zim Who, my son is out caddying. We have an LPGA event here in Cincinnati this week, and he's caddying. It's been his summer job all summer long, carrying bags and schlepping around in 95-degree heat. But God bless him. He's worked his tail off, made a lot of money. But he's fortunate enough to do this thing in the ladies LPGA event. So I'm hoping that he's working Sunday because Daddy needs a new pair of shoes. You ever heard that term?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So
speaking of heat, did you know that in LA and Cali right now they're in the middle of a heat wave itself too?
Yeah.
So like right now tonight that game is going to be literally on fire.
Yeah, and you know what we found out yesterday, Zim, if you can believe this? They built a $5 billion stadium, right? SoFi Stadium. There's no air conditioning in that stadium.
I found that out during the Super Bowl. The half glass or whatever.
Yeah.
I was standing under it, like an X-Men or something like that. Just the sun rays are just beaming on your head. I was like, why am I sweating? I thought the like this game, it's like 77 degrees. The sun is just shooting through the roof all day. Yeah. It is a beautiful stadium, though.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. You've been there. You went to the Super Bowl. It's great stuff. All right, Zim, thank you for your time. I know you're busy. You got a lot going on. When you traveling into Cincinnati? Tomorrow? Tonight? What are you doing?
I'm actually coming first thing Saturday morning.
Okay. All right. Well, safe travels, my man. Great having you with us as always.
See you at the tailgate. He committed, guys. He committed. We got him. Get the footage.
I did not commit.
He committed.
No. Zim's a man. He's going to be there. Boy, I love having that dude on. For those of you that missed it, I told the story. My son says to me about 2 years ago, I think, maybe even 3 years ago, I don't know, when the Bengals stink. Let's put it that way, right? And he says to me, Dad, you got to check out this guy Zim Who. Okay, and I'm watching him, and he's streaming while he's watching the Bengals game, and more times than not getting their tails kicked. And Zim had the hair like down to here, and he's totally into it. I loved his fire, loved his passion, loved the whole thing. I really love those kind of people, men or women that got the fire and the passion for something. Those are the people I want to be around in my life. I don't know about you, but I love the guy the second that my son showed him. But then when he comes on for the first time last week, Brandon, Casey, he looks like he just got a haircut like he was going into the military. I didn't even recognize the dude.
I think it looks fresh.
Yeah. I think he looks great. Clean. I really do, but imagine my surprise when he had the hat. Remember I asked him the other day, take off the hat, let the hair down. The hair is gone. That was his thing, right? Part of his shtick.
Yeah, you used to have longer hair, though, too, right?
Well, I had hair. That's not a fair question. It's not a fair question coming from a 30-something-year-old to a almost 59-year-old. I got my 59th birthday next week.
Are we going to bring a cake in here, or we could celebrate?
I'm hoping First Star will bring another computer.
We could celebrate at the tailgate. You already committed. You and I are going to be beer pong partners with Coors Light down at the Bengal block party. How do you feel about you said beer pong was your game. You and I could run the table.
I didn't say it was my game.
You said you were more of a beer pong guy than Flip Cup.
Although Flip Cup's a fun game. That's a fun game.
We could play both.
See, I'm in the generation where it was all about quarters.
Quarters? I knew you were going to say that.
That was one of the great games of all time. Still is a great game. Yeah. I think there's still some people out there. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Dan Hoard to bring us up to speed. And what's happening with the UC Bearcats taking on Kennesaw State tomorrow. Sellout crowd already at Nippert Stadium. That'll be the norm moving forward with this program. And, of course, Dan is also the voice of the Cincinnati Bengals. So we'll ask him a little bit about that. That's coming up next, Off the Bench, presented by UDF.
I know one thing. Ain't nobody does this better than us. Facts.
is now. Football season is back here in the Queen City, and Week 1, St. X versus Lakota West. EJ Train here with Chatterbox. It's about to go down. It's our kickoff of our official tour. Every Friday night you'll see us. Let's go. It's on 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's go. Man, I'm telling you, this game is going to come down to the first guy that says I've had enough. That's all it's going to take. One guy to say, you know what, I've had enough.
First game, bro.
My first one. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better first one because Dakota West struggling a lot throughout the first half and beginning of second half, and then
Big time.
it's a party, it's a party, it's a party.
I know one thing. Ain't nobody does this better than us. Facts.
Yeah, this atmosphere was insane. Show was on point. Everybody had a great time for the first one, too. Bringing people together. Big shout out to everybody tonight that worked hard from Chatterbox and everywhere else to put on a great show.
This dude's legit.
And he's sweating, so you know he's legit.
Off the bench, right here on Chatterbox Sports. And, you know, we had a chance last week to check in with our good buddy Dan Hoard, voice of both the UC Bearcats and the Cincinnati Bengals. Last week it was the Bearcats at Arkansas. This week the Bearcats are playing at home against Kennesaw State. Sold-out crowd already at Nippert Stadium tomorrow. And, of course, the Bengals v. Steelers sellout crowd where Dan will be calling both games. Danny, thanks for being with us. You got to get fired up, man, when now you're in the mode. And, look, it's nonstop for you. For those in Cincinnati, they know. I mean, it seems like every time you turn on the radio this time of year, you're either doing a game, hosting a coach's show. I mean, you got a lot going on. But this has got to be a really exciting weekend, I would imagine.
It is. It's the double dip. It's kind of an easy weekend, Tom. Both games are at home, so I don't have to worry about how I get from point A to point B, my own individual version of the Amazing Race on several weekends during the football season. But it's awesome. And I'm really looking forward to the atmosphere because it will be the first home game for both of these teams after two of the greatest seasons in their history. In UC's case, undoubtedly the greatest season in school history. And in the Bengals' case, one of 3 Super Bowl trips. But this one with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and all these young stars, I think the excitement level is higher than ever for the Cincinnati Bengals.
All right, we're going to get to the Bengals here in a minute, if you don't mind. I want to ask you a little bit about UC. And let's turn back the clock. I know it's been dissected up one way and down the other. We've heard a lot of different people's thoughts. What were your thoughts when all is said and done? You've had 4 or 5 days now since that game. What do you take away from it, good, bad, or indifferent?
Well, let me describe, Tom, the scene after the game. So, as you know, you come down from the broadcast booth. I guess in your case, doing games for network TV, you were probably hopping in a limo and racing to the airport or something like that.
No.
But in my case, I'm walking down to the team buses, grabbing a bite to eat outside the locker room, and then talking to people as we make our way toward the bus. And the overwhelming feeling coming out of the locker room last Saturday was Cincinnati was the better team. And if not for typical week one mistakes, they would have won that game. But you can't go on the road to Arkansas, overthrow wide open receivers for long touchdown passes, commit 10 penalties, 8 of them pre-snap, including 4 in one sequence where you recovered a fumble at the 3-yard line down by 7 points. Those things will kill you. They haven't happened very often in the Luke Fickell era, but they happened in week one, and now Cincinnati has to try to run the table from here.
I want to walk through a couple of those points you just made, and you had pointed out about a couple of these Bengals receivers that are running, 4.2 40s and stuff like this, and clearly that was right there, evidence, right there in front of everybody when these guys are going down the field. And Ben Bryant, it wasn't his first start at UC, but for all intents and purposes, it was his first huge start at UC. I know he filled in for Desmond a couple of years ago before going to Eastern Michigan. He made a lot of nice throws in that game. He missed a couple of touchdowns in that game, as you just pointed out. Do you think as we move forward, and not necessarily tomorrow, Dan, that the pressure begins to build? You know how provincial Cincinnati is. Evan Prater, local kid at Wyoming High School, player of the year in Ohio, the biggest recruit in the history of the University of Cincinnati. Do you get the feeling, being around the whole program, that kind of thing sort of lingering around out there at all?
Not yet. Definitely not yet. I got the feeling from Luke Fickell and others that they, by and large, thought Ben Bryant did pretty well, all things considered, particularly in the second half on the road against a good SEC team. He threw for 233 yards and 2 touchdowns in the second half. He couldn't have been too much better after kind of an up and down first half. But I will say this about pressure mounting on a Bearcat quarterback. It wasn't very long ago. 3 games into his junior year, a significant portion of the Cincinnati fan base was calling for Desmond Ridder to be benched because he got off to a slow start. Could care less. He's going to evaluate it based on how Ben Bryant does. Now, if Ben does not continue to get better and doesn't play well, then Evan Prater is waiting in the wings and could certainly take over. But I don't get any sense whatsoever that pressure is mounting yet.
Okay. Was there anything that you walked away from after that game besides what you just mentioned, that most people felt like UC was the better team? Was there any area of the team, secondary, offensive line, stopping the run, any of those kinds of things that stood out for you where you felt good about it or you kind of wondered about it?
Well, I'll say this. I think Ivan Pace is a stud. I thought that was going to be the case based on how he looked in spring football and in training camp, but what a debut in a Bearcats uniform. 12 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, a sack. He was all over the field, and he wasn't even in there for every defensive snap. I think his snap percentage just went up based on week one at Arkansas. What a great pickup from Miami of Ohio. Ivan Pace is. Some of the other areas you mentioned, I thought the secondary played pretty well considering they don't have 3 guys who are draft picks, including the number 4 overall pick in Sauce Gardner. All of the big plays last Saturday were plays that became big plays close to the line of scrimmage, a missed tackle, a bad angle, things like that. They certainly did not give up deep passes, so I think the secondary played well in that area. And as far as the offensive line is concerned, they lost a first-team all-league center, Jake Renfro, at practice in the week leading up to the season opener. Gavin Gerhardt, who had barely played in his first 2 years at Cincinnati, took over at center and did pretty well. So I think they were encouraged by how the offensive line did against that opponent under those circumstances. Now,
Kennesaw State, I mean, I think people just you roll your eyes sometimes, and every big program plays schools like this. But, I was looking into their, program quite a bit this morning. Now, look, I'm not saying they're Appalachian State rolling in here. I did that game, Appalachian State against Michigan, just had the 15th year anniversary of that thing last week. But they have some things that they can be quite proud of what they've done here the last number of years. 11-2, won the Big South last year. They were ranked 6th, I think, in the AFCA coming into the season. They did lose to Samford in week one. But what do you know about Kennesaw State for the fans that are going to be tuned into that game tomorrow?
Well, here's all you need to know, Tom. It's a triple option team. That is the great equalizer at every level of football. We see it in high school football. We see it in college football. I guess we don't see it in the NFL anymore, but we certainly see it in high school and college football. If you are an undermanned team, what is the best strategy to try to even up those differences? I think it is being a triple option team. It's certainly helped the service academies compete over the years, and that is what Cincinnati is going to have to try to slow down on Saturday. And the triple option does a couple of things for a college football team. Number one, it presents the opponent with an offensive style that they don't see very often. And secondly, it kills the clock and keeps the other team's offense off the field. Now, in Luke Fickell's first year as Cincinnati's head coach, they faced Navy at Navy and gave up more than 500 rushing yards. And you know Luke, he said, that ain't ever going to happen again.
Yeah.
So they spent a lot of the offseason after that working on the triple option from a defensive perspective, studying it, talking to people who had had success defending it. And ever since then, they have made defending the option a regular part of practice. So in training camp, even with no triple option team immediately on the schedule, they'll work on it every 3 days, just so you don't have to try to teach how to defend it the week of the game. And they've done extremely well against Navy ever since. So that's the thing that you worry about going into the game, but I am confident that Cincinnati will be able to handle it.
Can't wait for that whole atmosphere down there. That's truly one of the great stadiums. Is that what you say, or is it stadia? I'm not smart enough.
Stadia.
If
it's plural.
Thank you. See, you smart guys from the Northeast and Syracuse and where all that stuff. I mean, but that's such an incredible venue, and I'm so excited to see that place sold out. Shifting gears to the Bengals. We talked a little bit about this last week. Not a single starter got into a single snap during the preseason, except for the rookie offensive lineman who's won the guard, the Volsom who's won the spotted guard. And everybody else is out there for the first time. I asked you a week ago. I'm going to ask one more time. That doesn't concern you in the least bit, correct? You're on the record of that?
Well, tackling, I would say, would be the one area where you're maybe a little bit concerned, but it's a risk-reward situation, and I think the risk of playing those guys for any significant number of snaps in preseason games is not worth it. Look at the starters around the NFL who will not play in week one. The Jets don't have their starting quarterback, Zach Wilson. The Bucs don't have their center, Ryan Jensen. The Cowboys don't have their left tackle, Tyron Smith. Tre'Davious White, great cornerback for the Buffalo Bills, will not play tonight or will not play in the Thursday night game against the LA Rams. So if that's the risk that you run by playing those guys in preseason games, I want no part of it. Get my starters to the gate for the season opening game and run the risk of maybe missing some tackles as a result.
I asked Brian Billick this question yesterday, but he doesn't know the personalities like you do. Can a team have too many offensive weapons where egos start, now, you know what I'm saying. A lot of guys say that these wide receivers are divas. I'm not calling any of the Bengals wide receivers that because I've not gotten one inkling that any of them are in that category. They seem to be team-oriented guys very much. But can a team have too many? Do the Bengals have too many to keep everybody happy?
In the Bengals case, no, it's not a problem, and it's because of the personality of the wide receivers. I think Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd are unique in that respect. I don't think they're obsessed with their own numbers. Obviously, they want their opportunities. But the other thing that comes into play is that Joe Burrow throws it to the open guy. He is not going to lock in on any of them. So if the defense is designed to take away Jamar Chase, T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd are going to eat. If the defense is designed to prevent Tyler Boyd from catching the ball on third down, then Chase and Higgins are going to be the guys that Joe Burrow targets. So I suppose theoretically there are teams where you can have too many offensive weapons, but in my mind, that is not a problem at all with the Cincinnati Bengals. In fact, I think it's the biggest thing that gives them the chance of going back to the Super Bowl.
Are you surprised at all, Dan, because you follow other teams in the league? You have to when you're doing your job, and your preparation is unrivaled. Speaking of the Bills, who play tonight, you just mentioned that in the season opener for the National Football League. Does it surprise you at all that they seem to be not just some people, but everybody's pick to go to the Super Bowl?
It's probably the kiss of death for the Buffalo Bills that everybody is picking Buffalo to win the Super Bowl. I think if you look at the metrics, it makes sense. If you're like a Football Outsiders guy, they were dominant in offensive and defensive DVOA. I won't get into the specifics of what all of that stuff means.
Please don't. My eyes start rolling when I hear that shit. Thank you very much. So please proceed. Pardon me.
No worries. So, they were great in these stats that we don't want to get into what they all mean, but they were great in that. They were a tremendous team last year. They should have won in Kansas City in the game before the Bengals did win in Kansas City. Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Their defense is great. So from all of that stuff, it makes sense. But I am, like you, maybe a little bit surprised that it seems to be universal. There are so many great teams in the NFL. It's hard to believe that any team could be picked by virtually everybody to win the Super Bowl.
And, in the same vein, I've been quite surprised at how many people – and look, I know that whole argument about teams that lose the Super Bowl and historically they've had letdowns and so on and so forth. That's a chapter in the book all on its own. But just like Buffalo, I'm surprised how many people feel like Baltimore is almost a quote-unquote shoe-in to be the divisional champions over the Bengals.
Baltimore was the most injured team in recent NFL history last year, including Lamar Jackson. So in that sense, it makes some sense. They had an excellent record and were going head-to-head with the Bengals for first place in the division before seemingly everybody on the roster got hurt. But the thing I keep coming back to with people is the Bengals were the team that went to the Super Bowl last year, and they are better.
Yeah.
They didn't lose people like Kansas City did. They had a glaring weakness, and they attacked it. 80% of their offensive line will be different on Sunday against Pittsburgh. The 3 free agents they signed are all proven. Hopefully, La'el Collins is healthy. I guess that's maybe the one concern of those offensive line additions because he was banged up a bit early on in training camp. But if the offensive line is just league average, it doesn't even have to be great. It has to be middle of the pack or slightly better. If that's the case, this team should score a ton of points.
No doubt about it. Well, Danny, enjoy your weekend, man. I know I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. There are a billion of us that would trade places to go do what you're getting to do this weekend. So go enjoy every minute of it, man. Can't wait to listen to you.
Trust me, I am the luckiest man on the face of the earth, and stealing from Lou Gehrig, I can't wait. It's going to be an awesome weekend. Thanks for having me on, Tom.
No, thank you as always, Dan. Great to have Dan Hoard. That guy's such a phenomenal announcer. I mean, he's been a great announcer for a long time. And I keep saying he should have gotten the Reds job. When I got run, he should have gotten the job. That's my opinion. And he should be doing the Reds. That Bengals report brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing models to improve efficiency and productivity. Visit encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. All right, when we come back, we are going to speak with Reuben Brown. I can't wait to talk to this guy. Have we sent him a link yet, by the way? Did I give you an email?
Yes.
Okay, because he just wrote me and said he didn't have it, but we'll find out. I can't wait to have him on. Because this guy, and we'll talk about him here in a minute, he covers the Bills, was a great player for the Bills, finished his last 3 years in Chicago. But a lot like Anthony Munoz, whom we had on here for 45 minutes yesterday, he's an incredible person in that community in Buffalo. All the stuff Anthony does here phenomenal, right? But Reuben Brown's the same kind of guy in Buffalo. So looking forward to catching up with him, find out what's happening tonight. Bills v. Rams. You're watching Off the Bench, presented by UDF. We're back with Reuben Brown in a couple of minutes.
I know one thing. Ain't nobody does this better than us. Facts.
The time is now. Football season is back here in the Queen City, and Week 1, St. X versus Dakota West. EJE Train here with Chatterbox. It's about to go down. It's our kickoff of our official tour. Every Friday night you'll see us. Let's go. It's on 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's go. Man, I'm telling you, this game is going to come down to the first guy that says I've had enough. That's all it's going to say. One guy to say, you know what, I've had enough.
First game, bro.
My first one. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better first one because Dakota West struggling a lot throughout the first half and beginning of second half, and then
big time.
It's a party. It's a party. It's a party.
I know one thing. Ain't nobody does this better than us. Facts.
Yeah, this atmosphere was insane. Show was on point. Everybody had a great time for the first one too, bringing people together. Big shout out to everybody tonight that worked hard from Chatterbox and everywhere else to put on a great show.
This dude's legit.
and he's sweating, so you know he's legit.
All right, welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by UDF. We thank all of you checking us out on YouTube. Go to YouTube Chatterbox. Charlie says, go Bengals. Chris has Who Day. Phil loves Tracy Jones. And a bunch of you. Thank you so much for watching. All the thumbs up. We ask you to subscribe. And you can always check us out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Thom Brennaman TV. I was mentioning a minute ago, I'm really looking forward to our next guest. I had a chance to meet him years ago. He wouldn't remember when I was doing the NFL on Fox all those years. We would rarely get teams in the AFC, but he had come to the NFC with the Chicago Bears near the end of his career, Reuben Brown. And he has made his home at Buffalo, and great player, 9-time Pro Bowler, College Football Hall of Famer as an offensive guard. And I'm sure one day we'll be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So a pleasure to be joined by Reuben Brown. How are you, young man?
I'm awesome. Thanks for having me. And yeah, you did the NFC, right?
Primarily, with Fox, we would get some games where an NFC team would go play you in Buffalo. I was doing all that before you were born, though, Reuben, so you weren't even at Pitt yet, I don't think. So, the one thing I want to talk to you about, though, real quick, if you don't mind, we had Anthony Munoz on the show yesterday for about 45 minutes, and one of our favorite people and truly one of the great human beings that's ever lived here in greater Cincinnati. But when I've read about stuff you've done through the years, you're that same guy in Buffalo. I mean, you won the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award 3 times. Your charity work, especially with kids, has just been unbelievable. Anthony had made the comment yesterday that when he was playing, he didn't want to start the foundation because, there's only so much time in a human being's life, right? You got your family, you got your faith, you got your football, and you can't give it your all. Did you look at it that way and then kind of start doing a lot of your stuff after you got off the playing field?
Absolutely. It's very difficult to run a foundation. Will Shields told me the same thing when I was approaching the point where I was, doing enough activity that we felt that a foundation would be the best option for me to operate in. But definitely, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of your energy. And I, like Anthony, during my playing days, I didn't want to, do it, but it came about. And it's like a calling, so to speak. And so I've kept it up after my playing days, and it's taken me everywhere.
What's a soft spot in your heart? Of all the stuff you do, what's the one thing when you go or you do, you say to yourself, man, this is definitely the calling?
Well, I really like offering young children, the youth, an opportunity. Anything I do when I raise funds, I go look for local programs that are devoted to supporting and advancing the development of youth in their community. And it takes a lot of forms. We've helped the Salvation Army. We've helped after school programs, sports programs, you name it. I could go on and on. But to see the relief on the workers, the volunteers, the people that sacrifice their face when someone like myself, an athlete or someone that wants to be philanthropic steps in and offers them, it's a great look that these people that are sacrificing this time give you. And then, the look on the kids for whatever you're supporting, whatever program they're involved in, because, it's like a pay it back, pay it forward type thing. As a young kid, people did those things for me. I was in programs and sports programs and things that people had to fund. So I use my energy to try to support those programs.
Well, that's great stuff. You also spend a lot of time and energy following your Buffalo Bills. I got to be honest, and you might tell me, Thom, you're an idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about. I am really surprised how many people Almost every single person out there that's a quote-unquote expert or serious follower of football that believes Buffalo is the overwhelming favorite to win the AFC. Do you believe that? Do you feel that way?
No. I'm a prove-it type of guy. I played the game long enough. I've been in these situations where your team has either been predicted to be horrible or great. It means nothing. The only thing that matters is how they play each week, Thursday, Sunday, whenever they play. Tonight's the night. And that's what matters. You know, the product that they put out on the field each week is what makes me a believer. I'm a fan of the Buffalo Bills, but I'm a critical sports watcher. You know, I'm critical of watching what the guys are doing and how they're executing. I'm rooting for them, but I'm not going to just say, hey, the Bills are winning because I played for the Buffalo Bills. I know what they have to do in order to win. They have all the tools, but they have a long journey in front of them, and we're all hoping and praying and wishing that they reach the final stage and win the Super Bowl. But I'm not just giving it to them.
When you look at their team, and let's start, and certainly, when you're an offensive lineman, those are generally, I've found through the years, I think collectively they're the smartest guys on the field, on both sides of the ball. And they have a really good idea about what they have. Even the guys that they're not standing next to on that line, they know what their receivers are all about, their makeup mentally, the quarterback, the whole night. Start with the offensive line. Do you like that group?
It's the biggest question mark on the team. They have the most to prove. They, I would say, aren't the most cohesive unit or a unit that knows each other that well in that many years. There's a Spencer Brown, young, exciting player that's new to the lineup. He got some playing time last year. And then Dawkins, the mainstay. But for a lot of those guys, it's their prove-it year. They've got 8 years in the league or more, or 6 years. This year, starting to look for something to gel, and the offensive coaching staff's going to really have to work to call plays to bring them together. I'm afraid that the offensive system will be so enamored with their skill positions that they forget to support and bring along this offensive line that will need their help, play calling and things like that. But I think they have the talent that can do it for them, but they're going to have the toughest challenge this season.
Well, the toughest challenge for any offensive lineman is when you're lining up against a guy like Aaron Donald, which they're going to do tonight. I don't know who would be the equivalent, and I'm not saying it's somebody as good as Aaron Donald. Hell, you might think they're better than Aaron Donald. Who was a guy that you knew when you played against that was kind of in that mold where you're like, man, here we go. I mean, I bring it every week, but I better really bring it this week. Was there somebody back in your playing days that stood out like that?
How appropriate is this day? Is today 9-6? Yes, I think it is 9-6. And 9-6 is Cortez Kennedy. Cortez Kennedy is one of the greatest defensive tackles that ever played the game. And I would equate that to having to face Aaron Donald. I'm sure those guys are having the same type of anxiety I had when facing Cortez. So you have to be on point, and all of your movements and everything has to be decisive. You really have to be super focused. I mean, not to say that you're not each week, but when you're facing a one-in-a-lifetime performer, I mean, I was on the field when Reggie White was out there. I was on the field when Derek Thomas was out there. I played against Junior Seau. These are the names and type of people that, you have one gear to be a great player, but you want to be on the level with the Muhammad Ali's. You got to, be able to step it up and be competitive against Aaron Donald. And the great thing about the offensive line in the offense is the offensive line can do it together. They don't have to be alone. I got a lot of help over the years when I faced someone like Cortez Kennedy. I had Kent Hall, a great center, next to me that gave me a hand. And, you know, even if I wasn't physically blocking him, he would give me tips on, you know, my positioning and where I might have help. And the same thing I had with Olin Kreutz out in Chicago.
Yep.
We would play those big Sean Rogers and and guys like that. So you do it as a unit. You can't think that you're going to stop Aaron Donald with one-on-one matchup. Now, maybe if you had Reuben Brown at you playing guard again.
That away. Love it.
You might have a chance.
Love it.
The rest of the guys, they're going to need help, and the offense needs to know that. And we used to have an affectionate term Kent Hall used to say. He's like, find the werewolf. Which one of these guys is the werewolf? And, you know, Aaron Donald is the werewolf, you know, and he's the guy that has to have all the attention on doubling him, making it difficult for him to penetrate the offensive line. And it's not an impossible job, but they have to be focused.
Josh Allen, you made the comment a few minutes ago, Reuben, that, you know, you're a show-me guy. And, look, everybody can go back and watch that game when they got beat in the conference semis, that wild game where, you know, who had the ball last, right, is who wins the game. Kansas City wins the game. Allen had a great game. But I'm curious, you know, you played with some great quarterbacks. You played with some mediocre quarterbacks. The potential with this guy is unquestioned. I mean, you know, he can run, he can throw, he can do it big and strong and fast and tough and all this kind of stuff. What does he still have left to prove, if anything, to you?
Really take control of the offense and run it. And run it in a positive way, meaning when the cards are stacked against them, get the best, safe, most productive play out of the situation. Keep them upbeat, on pace, in tempo. And it can't all be about Josh Allen. Yes, he has the big contract. Yes, he's a quarterback, but it is a team sport. And if he can rally the troops to, you know, stand up and be accountable and do their jobs, I think that's the really big step that will push him into the Super Bowl. Just being in control. The examples I'd like to give like a Peyton Manning sort of, you know, a general. And really, I know it from Jim Kelly and Kent Hall.
Sure.
I mean, they were masterful at switching up the offense into the most productive play. The defense might notice what we're doing and shift it into something. Or we're playing a formation just to trick them into getting into something that we're going to be able. So having that ability and the nuance of running the offense for him and his teammates is really where the next level is for him. He can't rely on the coaching staff to do it all. He knows those guys. He knows the plays. He knows where it needs to go. He's seeing the defense. The offensive line and the rest of the guys can give him pointers and input, but really he sees the defense best out of all the guys. Him in the center, out of all the guys on the field, and they gotta, get that offense rolling.
Sean McDermott has always been an outstanding defensive coach, and that's where he made his hay as a coordinator for many, many years. He's brought a toughness back, I think. You correct me if I'm wrong. There's always been a toughness about Buffalo. It's a tough place to play. The weather conditions, you got to be tough, and all those things that go along with a great town. I love that town. But as good as that defense was last year, they get lit up by Kansas City, as I mentioned a minute ago, in the playoffs when it matters. They go out and bring in Von Miller. Boy, what an acquisition that is for the Bills going into this season.
Yes, that's huge. That's a huge addition to their defense that was spunky. I would call them a spunky defense. You know, they had some breakdowns here and there, but they were a feisty defense all year. And really, up front has been a big problem for the defense, the defensive line rotation, the pressure up front. And with adding Von Miller, you have a player now just from the defensive line position that can affect the passing game as far as pressuring the quarterback, sacks, and that nature, and also making it difficult for different types of matchups, whether it be blocking schemes or passing protections, all of those. So he's going to hugely help the DBs, who are arguably some of the best DBs around. You know, we have an outstanding defensive back core when healthy. You know, I know we one of our guys is not doing well right now, but when healthy, we have a very formidable defensive backfield, and our linebackers are, you know, above average standout linebackers. They can definitely improve, but all indications are that we are improving in those positions just by adding, you know, some effectiveness up front with Von Miller.
Mm-hmm. What's the general feel? What's your gut feel tell you about tonight?
Well, I feel like the Bills, I want the Bills to win, you know, and this would be a great test for the Bills. This won't mean if the Bills win or lose, it won't mean they're definitely going to the Super Bowl. It's the first game of the season, and a lot's going to change throughout the course of the season. Injuries and, you know, different things like that. The Rams may not be the same team they are opening the season that they will be at the end of the season. Same for the Buffalo Bills. But the Bills need to really start off finding out about their offense. Number one, this is what I'm looking for from them, and this is what I think will make them a consistent winning team opposed to just winning tonight, which we hope they do. The Bills need to find out, how are we going to effectively run the ball as a supplement to all of this passing that we have designed that we're going to go after. We're going to get Josh back there. We're going to pass it out to our great receivers. We got just signed our tight end where he's going to be active. We got to get it out to the backfield. But in what way, other than Josh running the ball, are we going to effectively find running plays that really keep us in those low percentage achievable downs that are going to make the team and the offense deadly, opposed to having a struggling running attack and relying heavily on the passing game and relying solely on Josh's legs when, you know, he should be matured out of that now. Yes, scramble if all else fails, but, you know, let's call a scheme that doesn't put you in such danger, and let the running guys that really run the ball run it and get those yards that we need. So that's the way I see it. And obviously, I'm an offensive line. I'm going to talk run the ball more than passing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the offensive linemen, they like lining up and going to hit somebody and send them coming to hit you as you're backpedaling all the time, right? I mean, you know.
Yeah, that's the best way to take it to Sam Darnold. I mean, it's tough in his a defensive threat as he is. You know, a lot of double teams come fourth quarter, you know, it'll wear him down enough, you know, where you can keep him not so effective. But you have to be able to find some effective ways to sneak in that run and wear him down. You know, boxing, body blows. You need the body blows to, you know, take the headshot.
Well, Reuben, we can't thank you enough for your generosity with your time, man. It's a real pleasure having you on here tonight. We'll be tuned into the Buffalo Bills, and now that we've had you on the show, we'll be thinking of you while we're watching tonight. All the best to you. Godspeed ahead, my friend.
Thom, it's a joy and a pleasure to be on with you. And there's when someone has a gift, they always look at other people at their gift and say, "Oh, it would be nice to have that gift." You have one of the greatest voices on radio, TV, everything, man. I wish I had that voice.
You do. You got the good looks. You got the good looks and played in the NFL. Man. You're going to the Hall of Fame one day, man. I'm sitting around in Hamilton, Ohio. Come on, what are you talking about?
Well, God bless you, man.
Same to you, buddy.
We love you. I love you, and let's do it again sometime.
I would love to do it again. How about when the Bengals play the Bills in the AFC Championship game this year?
Oh, there you go. That's how it's going to happen. Okay, I'll hold you to it.
Absolutely. And if they play it here, I'm in your place. I'm coming up and hanging out with you for a night and taking you to dinner. And if the game's down here, I'm taking you to dinner here. All right.
Word. Okay.
All right.
For
Good
sure.
deal. Thanks, Reuben. Appreciate it,
Thanks,
man. Good dude. Reuben Brown. Great player. Good Lord. Great player, man. 13 years in the NFL, 9-time Pro Bowler. He knows his stuff about them. I love the guys, the first line out of his mouth. I am a show me kind of guy. Not all the pub and all this and the build-up and the hype and everything else. You got to show me. And you can tell by talking to him, he laid it out there. He's rooting for the Buffalo Bills to win. That's his team. That's where he lives. That's where he's raised his family. All those great things. Had a great career there. But he is saying, look, they got some things on the line. Guys they got to prove themselves. The quarterback's got to be better. They got to run the ball. And it'll be fun to watch tonight. I can't wait. I know all of you are really excited about the start of the National Football League. All right, when we come back, we are going to have our cherry on top, thanks to our friends at UDF. And we're going to talk about this big tailgate that Brandon Seho and Zim Who, along with Chatterbox Sports. We are going to be hosting that down by Longworth Hall. So more info on that if you're going down to the game, or maybe you just want to come down, tailgate, hang out down there and not go to the game. Go watch it somewhere else. Good deal. We're back with that and more after this on Off the Bench, presented by UDF.
I know one thing. Ain't nobody does this better than us. Facts.
Presented by UDF. Again, you can find us each and every day, 10 o'clock in the morning till noon. And, of course, you can catch it later, watch it whenever you want, listen to it whenever you want. YouTube, and then search Chatterbox Sports. We're also streaming live on, Facebook, I know for sure, right? Instagram or no? Not Instagram? Okay. So you can check us out and social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Thom Brennaman TV. We got a lot happening here at Chatterbox, including a big tailgate. Shows you how in tune I am with what's going on around here. Brandon Seho, give us the details on what's happening. Zim Who Day we know is going to be there, but you have others that are going to be joining you down at Longworth Hall, right?
Yes. So Chatterbox Sports is partnering up with CEG, Cincinnati Entertainment Group, run by my good friend Joey Cook. We're going to have former Bengal Dre Kirkpatrick there.
My old neighbor.
There you go, yeah.
My old neighbor. Live right down the street. Good dude.
Good dude. Two-time national champion in Alabama. Obviously a very, very big name in the Bengals organization for a long time. We'll have him. We'll have our big monitor here. As you can see when we pull up this graphic, you'll be able to see we'll have DJs, the Jumbotron, food, drinks. Your favorite game in the world is what you admitted earlier in this show.
Quarters.
Beer. Well,
there's no quarters up there.
We can play quarters. We got to find a table that's friendly for quarters. That's the hard part.
Well, don't you have to have a table for beer pong?
You do, but but quarters aren't going to bounce on the same type of table.
You're right.
See, I know a little bit about quarters.
Okay.
Beer pong, flip cup. We'll have some live interviews like we're going to have with Dre Kirkpatrick and more. It's going to be a good time. The Bengal Block Party, 8:45 to 12:45 in the Longworth Hall lot, towards the back of the lot. Right when you pull in, we're going to have a stage, the big screen. Me and Thom are going to be running the beer pong tables, apparently.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's the first week we're doing it. We'll have a bunch of videos and recaps next week. We'll show on here and throughout social media. I think we're going to have a big turnout. My guy Joey already had about 200 to 300 people confirmed coming. We're taking it up a notch. I would imagine that lot's huge. You have probably, 3,000 people at least
it's enormous
tailgating.
Down there. Yep.
If you want to party, that's the place to be.
Yep. Okay. And are you allowed? I'm being serious when I say this because in some places it's I don't know, they crack down more than some other places. I've been to a number of tailgates in and around Paul Brown Stadium, Paycor Stadium now, but Paul Brown as it was. You can go down there and bring a cooler and have a beer down there, and nobody's going to all of a sudden start locking you up for having a beer down there, right? Unless you're 12 or something. But outside of that, you're all right, right?
Yeah, you're good. There's no Dora in the tailgates like they have up by the bars, but it's game. They got bigger things to worry about.
Yeah,
you can take a case of beer, a cooler, walk around, make friends. You can probably find some beer down there. People are nice at tailgates.
I bet you there's a lot of Steeler fans down there.
I think there will be. There typically is for this game, and there's a lot in the stands with terrible towels. But I will say the Bengals winning the last 3 has changed that and shifted. My first 2-3 years covering the Bengals, it was honestly like 60-40 Bengals or 60-40 Steelers fans in those stands. Now it's shifting back, I'd say, to about 70-30.
Yeah, Bengals fans. Yep. Casey, are you going to the game?
I probably will be at the tailgate just to help operate. But other than that,
maybe a beer.
I might take a beer during operation. Okay. But plan on going to a bar or something like that. To watch the game.
That's good. That's good. I think everybody's so excited. It's the start of the National Football League. So tomorrow, right? Want to remind everybody we got lots happening. But before we get to that, and I don't even know what we're doing here today. This is our cherry on top. Presented by United Dairy Farmers, our good friends there and sponsor of the program. What do we have for the cherry on top? Do we have anything today?
We do. It is called What the Duck. It is related to – so your dad in Chicago, we talked about this story yesterday on the show, was pushing his dog in a baby stroller down the sidewalk.
Millie, his dog Millie.
His dog, he just has one, his dog just Millie. One. This, I'm going to guess, has happened in L.A. or Florida where people just do crazy things. This is a duck on a leash crossing the street, but he doesn't walk. He flies with his owner.
How cool is that?
And then gets down. That has to be L.A. or Florida, right?
Well, not Florida. I bet the ranch L.A.
Yeah.
California.
It's got to be. I think it's kind of cool. It's super weird. What the
duck? If I were a betting man – And if I were a bet, I will bet you that guy is rehabbing that duck from an injury.
Probably. It looks like it's got a special harness attached to it or something.
Well, to make sure it can't fly away yet, or and then crash into something. But if I were a betting man, I'll bet you that guy is getting a duck back from an injured wing or something along those lines.
A good man, then.
That's our cherry on top. Yes, it is a good man. Anybody who loves animals and help any of them, we are all on board for that. So tomorrow, boys, we got a lot going on. And we'd like your reaction at home, whether it's on Facebook or whether it's on YouTube tomorrow, because we're going to be giving our picks for the weekend. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking 5 college, 5 pro. You guys good with that?
Yep.
Or is that too many?
No, I think that's perfect.
Okay. Yeah, we can work it out.
5 college, 5 pro. In the college game, we're picking all against the spread for those of you that weren't with us last week. So we will go with certainly Kentucky and Florida. That's a great game.
Alabama, Texas.
Alabama, Texas is a good game. UC now, and nobody's betting the money line on that. This is point spread thing.
We got Pittsburgh, Tennessee, a top 25
That's
matchup.
a good game. Pittsburgh, Tennessee. But are we going, and we're doing this on the fly, I mean, are we always going to pick the local teams, or are we not going to do that?
I think we should.
Yeah. We'll pick local
So we'll
teams.
have Ohio University, Ohio State, Miami, Kentucky, and then we'll throw in Alabama, Texas, and it's a good game. Pittsburgh against Tennessee. That's a really good game, Pittsburgh and Tennessee. Interesting game. Two programs that are trying to ramp it back up and get it going again. And then in the NFL, we decided, obviously, we're picking the Bengals every week. We are picking the other teams in the Central every week. So the Brownies are playing
the North.
In the North, forgive me. The Brownies are playing against Carolina. That's a Baker Mayfield Bowl. It's a big-time game.
Carolina all the way.
We have who are the Ravens opening up against? I'm drawing a blank.
The Ravens they're at the Jets.
No, that'll be a massacre.
Yeah.
And then of course we have the Bengals v. Steelers, and then I'm thinking the other games.
Kansas City, Arizona is a good one.
Yeah, and so is the Tampa Bay. Aren't they playing Dallas?
Yes.
That's a big-time game. Is that a Monday night game or Sunday night game?
That is Sunday night, 8:20.
Okay, well, that's got to be on the list.
Yep.
For sure. And we're picking our division winners, our wild card teams in the NFL, the matchup in the AFC and NFC championship games, and we are picking our Super Bowl winners before Week 1 officially kicks off. And before we say goodbye, fellas, anybody want to make a prediction on tonight? Straight money line here. Forget the spread. Who do you like to win a game?
I want Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
Bills all the way. Let's go.
Bills Mafia.
I don't think they're the Super Bowl favorite in the AFC like everyone says, but I think they take down the Rams tonight.
Okay. Casey?
Yeah, I'm going Bills too. Their Von Miller acquisition is going to be too much for the Rams offensive line.
I'm taking the Rams. Rams have 2 new starters on that offensive line. Andrew Whitworth, great Bengal for a long time, retired, of course, at the end of last year. Going out in the sunset, Super Bowl ring, Super Bowl title. Good for him. We thank Casey and Brandon, our producers of the show. Our executive producer is Trace Fowler. And we have our first full week next week. So, look, share it on your Twitter. Share our show, anything, everything, questions, comments, whatever it might be. Like I said earlier, we're just starting up. We got big days ahead, and we're grateful you're with us from the very, very beginning. So God bless, have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next week on Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Be well.